Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Bhakti Fundamentals. Today, we're exploring a question we often hear from those starting out on the path of Bhakti Yoga, and that is, how can I spiritualize my living space, my home? In other words, is it possible for my ordinary living space, where I cook, hang out with my family, fold laundry, scroll on my phone, watch television, and generally unwind, to become spiritual? And this could be your house, your dorm room, an apartment, or even a hotel room when you're traveling. And the answer, drawn from the timeless wisdom of the Bhakti tradition, is a joyful and confident yes. In Bhakti Yoga, spirituality is not confined to temples, churches, or mountaintop retreats. And it's not confined to just Saturdays or Sundays. It begins right where you are and is an everyday practice. Bhakti is not about escaping daily life or giving up our responsibilities. In fact, one of the most empowering teachings of the Bhagavad Gita is the principle of yukta-vairāgya, which literally means proper renunciation. And we learn that proper renunciation in spiritual life does not involve giving up the world, but rather renouncing material consciousness in favor of spiritual consciousness. This means trying to find a way to use everything in our lives in the service of Kṛṣṇa, the Supreme. Connecting matter to Kṛṣṇa is proper renunciation. When we recognize that nothing in this world ultimately belongs to us, that everything comes from Kṛṣṇa, we naturally feel inspired to use our home, our time, our work, and activities, etc., in His service. And when we do that, everything in our lives becomes spiritualized. Your food, your work, your kitchen, your living room, even that to-do list you have can all become part of your spiritual life and help uplift your consciousness from the material to the spiritual platform. Of course, this excludes things and actions that dull our consciousness, such as taking illicit drugs, or that involve violence toward ourselves or other living beings. These actions degrade our awareness and cannot be offered to Kṛṣṇa. But the vast majority of things in our lives and homes can be engaged in His service. With the right consciousness, so much of our daily life can become a part of our spiritual practice of Bhakti Yoga. Let's take your kitchen, for example. In a recent Bhakti Fundamentals session, we explored how to spiritualize our food. And we discussed that when we prepare meals with Kṛṣṇa in mind, vegetarian only, mind you, and offer them to Him before we eat, then that food becomes prasadam, a Sanskrit word that literally means mercy. Since all the ingredients for our meals ultimately come from Kṛṣṇa, when we offer the meal back to Him with love, He accepts it. And what remains are His sanctified remnants, His mercy. And in that moment, your kitchen transforms. It's no longer just a place for cooking for ourselves, but a sacred space for cooking and offering meals to the Supreme. And your dining table becomes a space for honoring the remnants of the Supreme, where we nourish both body and soul. Just by honoring prasadam at our dining table, we make spiritual advancement. Imagine that, spiritual progress through something as simple as eating. So just like that, our kitchen and our dining table can become spiritualized, simply by shifting our consciousness around how we eat and what we eat if we weren't already vegetarian. Aside from the kitchen, we might also consider creating a small altar space in our home, perhaps in the living room, where we naturally spend a good amount of our time. And even a simple altar with a painting of Kṛṣṇa, a copy of the Gita, a photo of Srila Prabhupada, and a few fresh flowers that we offer to Kṛṣṇa there can really elevate our consciousness spiritually. And your altar can be anything from a modest shelf to a large ornate armoire, depending on your space and inspiration. The beauty of having a home altar is that it becomes a spiritual anchor right where you live, in a space you inhabit every day. Again, in Bhakti Yoga, spiritual life is not limited to temples or holy places. Since the path of bhakti is about connecting everything in our daily lives to Kṛṣṇa, it helps to have reminders of him in the environment where we spend the most time. And each time you pass by your altar, it gently turns your mind toward Kṛṣṇa. A home altar is a sacred spot where you can chant your japa, offer prayers to Kṛṣṇa, read from the Gita, or simply pause to reflect on your spiritual life. You can also make offerings to Kṛṣṇa at your home altar. For instance, you might place flowers in vases or arrange loose flower heads or petals to decorate the altar space. Or you can prepare a plate of food for Kṛṣṇa after cooking, set it on your altar, and prayerfully offer the meal to him on your altar instead of just on your kitchen counter. Since everything already belongs to Kṛṣṇa, he graciously accepts even our simplest offerings when they are made with sincerity. And through these small devotional actions, we make real and steady spiritual progress. Now, let's take a moment to reflect on the overall atmosphere of our home. According to the Gita, everything in our material environment, including our living space, is influenced by the three modes of material nature: goodness, sattva, passion, rajas, and ignorance, tamas. As we've discussed before, the material mode of goodness provides the most supportive environment for spiritual life. So as much as possible, we try to cultivate the mode of goodness in our daily living. And as we continue practicing Bhakti Yoga, we gain the potential to rise even beyond the mode of goodness. The mode of goodness is good, but it's still material. So we can rise through spiritual life to the level of Shuddha Sattva, or pure spiritual goodness. But that topic is one we'll explore in another session. For now, with the context of the three modes of nature and thinking about our home environment, it's helpful to ask ourselves, is my living space clean, calm, and organized? An environment that supports my spiritual practices, such as chanting my japa and focused reading of the Gita. If so, then our living space is likely more in the mode of goodness. A tidy, serene atmosphere uplifts our consciousness and makes it much easier to concentrate on our spiritual practices. But if the dishes are piling up, clutter is everywhere, and our space feels messy or neglected, then our environment leans more toward the mode of ignorance. And in such a setting, our mind is easily distracted or agitated, making it more difficult for us to focus on our spiritual practices and to remember Kṛṣṇa. Even the furniture we choose, the colors we decorate with, whether calming, energizing, or dark and depressing, and the art on our walls all shape the atmosphere of our home. And in subtle but powerful ways, they shape our consciousness too. So it's worth asking, do the posters, paintings, or decorations in my space uplift my thoughts or pull them down? Do I have items lying around that subtly promote violence, sensuality, or materialism, like hunting gear, inappropriate magazines, or harsh, agitating imagery? Or when I look around, do I see items that uplift my thoughts? A vase of fresh flowers, veggies from the garden arranged in a bowl on the counter, paintings of beautiful scenes from nature, or better yet, reminders of my spiritual life, like my japa beads, the Bhagavad Gita, or a painting of Kṛṣṇa. And what about the media that we consume in our home? The shows and movies we watch also subtly influence our inner environment, our thoughts, moods, and even desires. Are they normalizing qualities like anger, envy, or lust, traits that we're trying to leave behind on the path of bhakti? In Bhakti Yoga, we strive to be mindful, not only of what we eat, but also of what we take in through our ears and eyes. If you find this area challenging, consider adding in bi-weekly Bhakti YouTube classes to your routine, or even just once a week to start. There are so many inspiring lectures given by Srila Prabhupada and other Bhakti yogis on YouTube. Just reach out for some ideas. The underlying principle here is that the media we consume affects our consciousness. So choosing spiritually uplifting content as much as possible can deeply support our advancement on the path of devotion to Kṛṣṇa. On that note, we can also reflect on the sounds we invite into our home. For instance, are we listening to music that degrades our consciousness, filled with violent themes or crude imagery? Or are we filling our space with kirtan, the Maha Mantra set to music, or the transcendental sound of Srila Prabhupada chanting japa? Unlike ordinary sound, which may agitate our minds and potentially distract us from spiritual life, shabda, or spiritual sound vibration, has the power to awaken the soul's, our original spiritual awareness. That's why even simply playing Srila Prabhupada's recorded chanting or kirtans or lectures about Kṛṣṇa in the background while we go about our day can make a profound difference on our consciousness while at home. On a less subtle level than sound, what about the bookshelves in your home? One powerful way to spiritualize your living space is by creating a small or large personal library of spiritual books. Even one shelf with treasures like the Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita can serve as a daily invitation to pause, read, and reflect on Kṛṣṇa. The Bhakti tradition offers a vast ocean of spiritual wisdom, and starting a collection of these sacred texts allows you to go deeper at your own pace. And don't worry, there are so many books in the Bhakti tradition, you'll never run out of reading material in this lifetime. If you'd like suggestions, feel free to reach out. We'd love to help you get started in this regard. Finally, even our daily household chores like doing the laundry, sweeping the floors, or washing the dishes can be spiritualized if we carry them out with the mood that we are doing these tasks for Kṛṣṇa. To maintain a clean, peaceful home where we can easily chant, read, and remember Him, then those ordinary actions become acts of devotion. They become spiritual. And in this way, every corner of our home practically can become connected to Kṛṣṇa. So we just wanted to share some practical ideas today for spiritualizing your living space. We covered a lot, but don't feel overwhelmed. If you feel you have a lot of changes to make in your living space, just begin with one area. You could start with your kitchen. Keep it clean, cook only vegetarian meals, and offer your food to Kṛṣṇa before eating yourself. That alone can make a profound difference. And it also takes only a few moments to make a small altar. Just one shelf of a bookcase is enough for perhaps a painting of Kṛṣṇa and a copy of the Gita. That's all it takes to start. Over time, as your attraction to spiritual life deepens, you'll naturally feel inspired to refine other parts of your home and life. You'll begin to lose taste for things that no longer align with your devotional mood, and you'll feel drawn to shape your outer environment in a way that supports your inner spiritual consciousness. Ultimately, in Bhakti Yoga, we are trying to cultivate love for Kṛṣṇa in everything we do. And that love may be expressed through grand, sweeping actions, but just as often, it is revealed through the quiet care we bring to the details of our daily life. After all, we attend to the details when we love someone, and so it is when it comes to our relationship with the Supreme as well. Love for Kṛṣṇa is also found in the details of our life. So that's all we have for today on the topic of spiritualizing our living space. Let us know what you thought of our ideas and if you have any questions that we might answer in a follow-up session. In the meantime, thank you for listening today, and we'll see you next time on Bhakti Fundamentals.